What is going on, everybody? We are back with another episode of Coordinated Chaos. This week we'll be recapping what happened in Week 8 of the NFL season. Then we're going to go over a little bit of news, pieces of news throughout the NFL, specifically the benching of Anthony Richardson. Then we're going to get into the Deontay Johnson trade to the Baltimore Ravens. And we'll do a Thursday Night Football preview and then finish off with my favorite matchup of the week against the spread. So let's just start off with the recap. First game on the docket will be Thursday Night Football, Rams versus Vikings, a game where a lot of people were looking at the line and thinking, this is a little weird. Why are the Vikings not favored by more? And the Rams came out and had two healthy wide receivers back in the lineup, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, and just absolutely ran away with this game. I mean, it was a great game in general. Good defense on really both sides of the ball. A little bit of a weird missed call at the end of that game that kind of factored into it. I don't know if the Vikings would have actually done anything with that possession, but controversy there. But it made for a good Thursday Night Football game.
Yeah, it was. It was fun to see two good teams, two what should be good teams, kind of duke it out. And I'm worried now for the Vikings because I said it last week, but I was like, I don't know how long they'll be able to last. But they got kind of unlucky because they got the Rams right when they got two of their best players back.
Yep.
And so I don't know if the Rams are going to be able to turn it around in time to get into the playoffs, and if the Vikings are going to be able to keep going to stay in the playoffs. But that was a good game.
Yeah, I think this game it gave them just enough momentum, the Rams, I should say specifically, that like it makes them like think to themselves, I mean, the NFC West is there to be had right now. No team is really pulling away. 49ers look kind of disastrous, even though they did beat the Cowboys this past week. The Seahawks are the most Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde team in all of football. They could beat one of the better teams in football, like the Falcons one week, and then just get mollywopped the next, like we just saw against the Bills. So, and then obviously you have the Cardinals, who I think are actually leading the division right now, but like nobody really believes in them long term.
Yeah.
They're just kind of winning some like close games by like very small margins, just by a few plays here and there. And they haven't really played a whole lot of great competition just yet. So, it's a weird division, but I like the fact that the Rams are finally getting healthy, and it looks like all the rumors about potential players like Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford, going to another team at the trade deadline, I think those have all been kind of nipped in the bud because of the fact that they won this game on Thursday Night Football, and they gave, the organization confidence that they can actually probably make some noise in the playoffs if they make it.
Yeah, because I think it was helpful that they were able to play a good team, because if they had beat the brakes off like the Panthers, it'd have been like, well.
Yeah, we don't know what we have just yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that was a confident win for them, and I think what helps them is the players believe in the coaching staff, and the coaching staff believes in the players.
Correct.
And everyone knows the talent's there.
Yeah.
It's just got to get put together, which I think it will.
Yeah, that was a huge win for the Rams. Vikings-wise, like you said, there's a chance that this has a collapse potential if, there's just a little bit of, in the back of their mind, is Sam Darnold the guy? Was this just like a flash in the pan? Was this smoke and mirrors for the first couple weeks of the season? I still like their defense. I still like the play caller and Kevin O'Connell / head coach. They have great weapons on the outside and at running back and Aaron Jones, as everybody stays healthy. It really just comes down to the question, is Sam Darnold the guy, and can he get it done at the end of the day?
Yeah, because they're not lucky, but it is ideal that they started so hot, because you can afford to lose a few games and still be if they finish 500, they'd be 12 and what were they, 6-0?
I think they were 5-0.
5-0, and that leaves 12 games.
Yeah.
So it'd be 11-6.
Yeah. That's playoff potential.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. At the very least, that can potentially. Yeah. I don't think it's going to win you the NFC North, but it'll get you a wild card, because the NFC North looks really good. Yeah. We'll get to that a little bit later. But the next game we're going to go to is Eagles versus Bengals. The Eagles travel to Cincinnati after beating the crap out of the Giants, and that Giants game, like I said last week, gave me a little bit more confidence than I've ever seen this season in the Eagles, but I was taking every little thing with a grain of salt. Spoiler alert, I'm all the way back in. I'm ready to get my heart broken again. This Eagles team this week against the Bengals, I know the defense of the Bengals stink, and everybody's kind of taking advantage of that defense. But on the other side of the ball, you still have to be able to stop a potent offense in the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and company. T. Higgins was out in this game. That's a huge part of their offense. I realize that as well. But it was just good to get a full, complete game once again from the Eagles.
Yeah, I was fairly impressed with the Eagles. This was the first time I was like, all right, they look like a legit.
They're kind of back.
Yeah. Well, no. But devil's advocate-wise, I will say, Jamar Chase is the better receiver, but without T. Higgins, you can just blanket Chase. And they can't really do anything.
Yeah.
They rely on those two so much.
Yep.
And if you take one away, it showed they can't do much.
Yeah, I mean, earlier on in the season, when you saw Jalen Hurts be without A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it was an absolute disaster of an offensive performance. And everybody was like, man, is Jalen the guy? And then you see a team like the Bengals come together without one of their star guys, and they don't have that great of an offensive showing either. And it's like, it's very clear that, there's good quarterbacks that can overcome certain things in this league. But, most of the time, if you don't have your guys, you're going to struggle on offense. And so it's proven no matter who the quarterback is, that's going to be the way it goes. The Eagles looked really good in this game. From my perspective, the things I've been asking the Eagles to do, I feel like they've been, low-key listening. And, that's been making me very confident in them going forward. Is just, the under center runs, the under center play action, more play action in general. On defense, not doing so much super soft off coverage. They've been actually manning up the most in the league since the bye week has started, which I was really excited about because I feel like the Eagles have the Jimmies and the Joes to get that done. Quinyon Mitchell, the rookie, has been incredible all season long. I mean, he's been shutting down the likes of Malik Neighbors, Jamar Chase, all those guys. They have not had very productive days against him specifically. He doesn't necessarily move around with them, but when he's been assigned them, he's done a really good job. So everything's pointing up for the Eagles right now, in my opinion. We'll see if it can keep rolling. They're going to be playing a Jacksonville Jaguars team next week that is going to be without a lot of very good players.
Who made that schedule?
Yeah, and it's going to be at home too. So it was supposed to be primetime actually because Doug Peterson, former Eagle head coach, obviously that won the Super Bowl with them, comes back to Philadelphia, and it's supposed to be like a story, which it's already happened once, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But they made it primetime, and then they flexed it out of there because they saw both teams at the beginning of the season were not very good.
Yeah.
So, Eagles look good to me. Bengals, this was a game where, I feel like both teams were in a position where, whoever won this game, it was okay, they're going to catapult into, okay, they might be actually legit. And then whoever lost this game kind of goes down to,
it's panic mode.
Yeah, panic button, missed the playoffs, lost season type deal. So, I don't know. How do you feel about the Bengals, in general?
I'm just so confused because they get so much media hype because they had the Super Bowl run and Joe Cool and Jamar Chase and all those guys, and their defense is just horrible.
Yeah,
just
it is
utterly horrible.
They do not have the players right now.
No, and the receivers are good and Burrow can get them the ball, but we saw when you lose one of them, they got ran through, and they're not gonna. Without both of those guys, they're not going to be scoring 42 points a game. And so they really need to trade for I saw they should trade for a Chase Young to give Eric Hendricks just some help.
Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah, him. Because I just don't understand how
their D line has lost some players. They lost DJ Reader this season. He went to. Who did he go to? Another contender. I can't remember. Maybe the Texans or something like that. I don't remember off the top of my head for whatever reason. But DJ Reader was a huge portion of their D line. He was one of the better defensive tackles. Oh, he went to the Lions actually. He was one of their best players on defense, and he was a guy that was an unsung hero for a lot of their runs the last couple of years because of the fact that he could really stop the run, but he had a little bit of pass rush work he could get done as well. So. They're missing some players on that D line and that defense in general, and it's been hurting them. They just haven't paid those guys.
It does not help that they don't have the players, and it also doesn't help that they started out so poorly because there's no time. There's they don't have a Vikings ability where they can have a little fluke and it's fine.
Yeah,
they not winning out's tough, but they need to go something one.
Yeah, they didn't build themselves a cushion whatsoever. Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to the next game. In the same division as the Bengals, we're going with the Browns versus the Ravens, a rivalry in the NFC, or the AFC North, I should say. This one was crazy, obviously. just like everybody else probably in America, had a bunch of parlays with the Ravens winning this game against the Browns, even though Jameis Winston was the quarterback, and everybody thought, the Browns would be a little bit more feisty in this game, but they won't beat the Ravens, right? And then, of course, they beat the Ravens in Jameis Winston fashion, where he almost threw multiple picks, but none of them connected. He's just got this horseshoe up his rear that just nobody can just get out of there. It's just crazy. But he throws a touchdown to end the game essentially to Cedric Tillman, who had a really good fantasy day. He picked up on waivers. You're really happy right now. But yeah, just the Browns winning this football game. The Ravens just kind of faltering. They had multiple chances to win this game. At the end there, Kyle Hamilton drops the easiest interception you'll ever see, essentially. And so everything just kind of went wrong for the Ravens. Rashad Bateman took a football directly to the chest in the middle of the field on a ball that went 40 yards in the air. Just nothing went right for the Ravens. A lot of things had to go right for the Browns. They win the ball game, and Jameis Winston looks like a hero, which, I picked him up in fantasy. I'm not too ashamed right now.
He's a fun guy to root for.
Yeah, because realistically, in a fantasy,
he'll get his yards.
Yeah, he'll get yards.
Picks, but he'll get his
yards. He
yards.
slings it downfield. Even if in fantasy, it doesn't not help if you throw a pick six at the beginning of the game.
It's just 2 points.
And
then you get the ball back.
And then you're down, which means more passing, and you're Jameis Winston in fantasy is kind of viable, so I'd pick him up if you're a little bit desperate, which I am in one league at this point. So, but yeah, this was an interesting game. Do you have any other thoughts on the Browns-Ravens?
Yes. And not just as a fantasy owner of Derrick Henry, but I was disappointed in Jim Harbaugh. They ran him 11 times. Yeah. 11. That's for tough. 74 yards. Yeah. And you're oh, that's 6-7 yards a carry. And
that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's
it clearly kind of worked.
Yeah, you run it and then you can throw it, or you can keep running it. And they just stopped. Yeah. And I'm I don't understand why you're going to go out, bring in one of the best running backs in football, use him 10 times, and then lose. Yeah. Why would you bring him to just have him not, help? Yeah. Because I get on Lamar Jackson, too, because Lamar is a smidge selfish. I know he wants to win MVP again, and so if all the shine's on Derrick Henry, doesn't help. Yeah. And it just makes me so mad. Yeah. At
this point, all those individual accolades don't matter anymore, because the narrative right now is you just can't get it done in the playoffs. You can't make the Super Bowl, and that's got to be the priority right now. And like you said, the thing is, there's proof in the pudding all season long of this is the way you win ball games as the Baltimore Ravens, because your defense isn't that good. Your secondary is getting cooked up by everybody they've been playing. So you have to run the ball and take those possessions and that time of possession away from the other teams in order to win these games and just bleed clock, essentially. It was clearly working pretty good. Maybe the game script didn't it wasn't very prescriptive when it came to we should run the ball more, but you got to kind of find a way to incorporate Henry more in general, even if it's just through the screen passing game, because he can actually rip some, because that at least allows him to be outside and then gain that head of steam that he kind of needs as well. So, I don't know. It's a weird thing that sometimes they get a little bit pass happy at times, and the Cleveland Browns defense, when you start going one dimensional, especially when the pass game, that's when their defense is at their best.
Yeah, and I don't understand is you use Henry fine, and then Henry opens up Lamar's legs, and both their legs open up Lamar's throwing. Yep. And not that Lamar is a running back, but it's not he's some god tier passer. Yeah. So it's the offense has never been let Lamar throw it around. Yeah. So I did not understand.
Yeah, I think that offense is at best when Lamar has 25 to 27 pass attempts, max. Yeah. I think you run the ball the other times, and that's your game plan. So we'll see how the Ravens kind of respond going forward. I think obviously they're fine. They're one of the best offenses and teams in general. Hopefully, like I said last week, they'll make a move at the trade deadline to get some defensive help, because that's where they're weakest, clearly. Their secondary has been very leaky, and it's been showing. If Jameis Winston can rip you apart with the weapons they have there on offense in Cleveland, what can some of these other teams do that actually have some good weapons do to you? So it'll be interesting.
Are we talking about Johnson now or later?
Let's go ahead and go with it. They traded for offensive weaponry, obviously, here. The Ravens did, and they went out and got Deontay Johnson, which helps their offense, clearly. And that's kind of something I alluded to last week was like, I wonder what their game plan is going to be when it came to like the trade deadline and making moves. Are they going to double down on offense, or are they going to go and get defensive pieces? And like they still have time. Once again, I think the trade deadline is November 5th.
Yeah.
So they still got a few days here to make some moves defensively if they want to get some edge pieces or maybe, like I said, secondary help in general. But they went and got Deontay Johnson, which just clearly makes their offense better. I think they got the ick as soon as that ball hit Rashad Bateman in the chest and it bounced off his chest.
Someone else.
They were like, we need help.
Yeah.
Like, we got to get somebody that can catch a football in here. So Deontay Johnson's a great route runner.
Yeah.
Has great hands.
Yeah, strong hands.
Yeah, and he's a weapon in the red zone. He always has been when he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah. That was where he was mostly effective, was just ripping people apart in the route running game and just getting some separation there and just getting the ball. And I think Lamar can get it to him. So I think it's a good move.
Yeah, I think he helps them in every single way because it takes pressure off the O-line because they can't blitz as much because it's not just guard Zay Flowers. He takes pressure off Lamar Henry because it's not just throw it to Flowers or Mark Andrews. And then he takes that pressure off of Derrick Henry because now you can't just stack the box because you can't leave 2 one-on-ones because those guys will get fried.
Yeah.
But I do think they should try and get some defense because, like we see it every year, the offense eventually goes stagnant, and like the Chiefs they show you need a defense to be able to win
you need
games.
Something to lean back on when it comes to defense because not every game plan offensively is going to go exactly the way you want it to, just like in this Browns game. So and then you need something to lean on.
If you have a O-line or two get injured for a few weeks and the run game's just gone, then it's like you're going to have to rely on other things.
For sure. All right, let's move on to the next one, Bills versus Seahawks. I'm not going to get super into this one. Really, the Seahawks, once again, like I kind of alluded to, they're one of the more Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde teams in all of football. They can show up and be incredible. You said it the other day where you wouldn't be surprised they
lost to the Panthers.
They lost to the Panthers, beat the Chiefs. It's that's exactly how that team has been all season long. The Bills just essentially put it to them. This was in Seattle, so pretty embarrassing showing by the Seahawks. Yeah. I will say I was watching this game. I had an anytime touchdown parlay going, and I had Kenneth Walker in it, and I was sitting there just watching Red Zone. And the Seahawks got there. It was close to the 3 or 5 yard line, and they're about to snap the ball, and it looks like they're about to just turn around and hand the ball off to Kenneth Walker. And I was like, I'm going to get another leg of this parlay going. And they snapped the ball 30 yards over Geno Smith's head. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. So then,
turns into a passing situation.
Yeah, literally. So Kenneth Walker runs behind, grabs the ball, and gets a little bit of positive yardage from where the ball landed, but not it was 10 yards behind where they were on the line of scrimmage. But that happened, and then as well as the next time they were in the red zone, that close again, they were about to turn around and hand it off to Kenneth Walker again. And the center, instead of snapping the ball over the guys or over Geno's head,
roll it.
He stepped back and stepped on Geno's foot, and he tripped and fell and just had to hold the ball and just got touched on the ground. Nice. So I was sitting there this is the two worst possible things.
For the circus.
Yeah, I was it was crazy. So the Seahawks, they're just not a very clean. Situation right now.
Hurt is not helpful.
It definitely does not help. And Tyler Lockett has been basically unproductive this season. He hasn't been doing a whole lot at all. Jackson Smith and Jigba's been okay. Pretty much they are DK Metcalf and Kenneth Walker when healthy, and that's the whole offense. Yeah. So they're kind of in trouble. I just don't see them being super effective.
Yeah. They're not crisp enough for the talent that they have. They're not like a Ravens where it's they can play a crappy game and win. But the Bills are a team that you have to be pretty good against because Josh Allen will give you crap. He'll make it tough. He'll score, and their defense isn't good, but it's not that bad.
You can't give Josh Allen extra possessions.
No.
You can't you can't screw up your goal-to-go situations like I was just describing, or else because he's going to trade touchdowns for field goals
for sure,
and you're going to lose that. Obviously, that's just simple math. You're going to lose that football game.
Yeah, 7's more than 3.
Yes, 7 is more than 3.
Yeah.
But it's just Bills win really fantasy-wise. Khalil Shakir actually had a good game.
They had so many options. Shakir, Coleman had a good game.
Cooper didn't even have a good game, but Coleman. It's Cooper's presence is opening up the opportunities for those other guys, and that's exactly what they kind of wanted.
Yeah, all those guys.
like, even though if you have Cooper in fantasy right now, just be patient with it. Like, it is what it is. Like, he's going to get his eventually when he learns a little bit more of the playbook. But his presence is opening things up, and Josh Allen's going to be much more effective, and James Cook's going to be more effective. Everybody's going to benefit from it. So I like the Bills moving forward. Next game, Commanders versus Bears. This one, obviously, this was the Hail Mary play.
Everything.
Yeah, this was an insane game in general. Really sloppy, really ugly all game long until like the last
4 seconds.
Yeah, well, 7 minutes really of the fourth quarter, where like the Bears finally kind of got out of a funk and started to actually score.
Yeah.
They had that really boneheaded decision of goal to go. They decided to do the refrigerator play where they try to give the ball to a fullback who was a backup offensive lineman, and it's like, dude, you're in a 12-7 game.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that? Just turn around and hand the ball to Roschon Johnson. He's your goal line back. Just let him do work. That's literally what you have him here for. And they just got galaxy brain, and they're like, oh, we're going to give it to a backup offensive lineman who's never taken a handoff ever.
Yeah.
It's crazy how stupid that was. But then they still got the opportunity to come back and score. Roschon Johnson does get the game-leading score with, 29 seconds left or something like that for the Commanders. Commanders drop back, and they get a decent pass to where it puts them in position to have a real shot at a Hail Mary. So that was the first knuckleheaded move, was why aren't you covering that better, essentially? And then it goes to obviously the Hail Mary where Jay Nails is running around for 8 seconds and then chucks it down there. Perfectly arced, perfectly right there at the edge of the goal line, and then you have Noah Brown to back up the scrum that's right there. Obviously, everybody's seen by now the Tyreek Stevenson video where he's in the corner talking crap to the crowd, and this is while the ball's already snapped, and then he's like, oh, maybe I should get into this play, runs over, and ironically, he's the one that ended up jumping and tipping the ball up in the air, and it goes straight to Noah Brown. So it was the most instant karma you could ever have in the history of sports. So it was a wild game. Just Commanders are just keep winning. They're kind of the magic team of the season.
Yeah, they are. They had Bill Belichick on the Pat McAfee show, and he was talking about how even in Pop Warner, you're taught if you don't want, because if you don't give them those 13 yards, they have to run one of those lateral spazzy plays where you
100%.
can't really do anything.
Yeah.
But you would just have 5 people line up on the sideline and be they can go anywhere but out.
Correct.
And they gave them just 13 yards, and then they're on the 50, and Daniels can throw that ball.
Yeah.
And then the video itself was that was so
insane.
And then you're taught, I guess that no one had a chance to knock it down, but you always have someone behind the whole scrum of just trying to put your hand on it and get it to go up.
Yeah.
And so that was wild. That was everywhere on social media.
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't have usually I feel somebody's assigned the backup guy.
Yeah.
Not everybody is supposed to just join the scrum.
Yeah.
Somebody's supposed to
even
also
if you take
be
a PI. If you know he's going to catch it, just tackle him before he catches it.
Yeah, I don't know. That was crazy.
The other thing I didn't get is they rushed 3, which I understood, but they had a QB spy.
I would rather Jaden Daniels run and outrun everybody.
Yeah, if he runs 50 yards, then
Yeah, it's a more power to you situation.
But how are you going to just waste a person and have him just shadow him?
Yeah, that's really dumb.
That didn't make sense
a lot of people were saying the move in those Hail Mary situations is actually blitz.
Yeah,
make them come off their spot and get outside of the pocket before they really can.
Well, because then the receivers can't get down. You got to throw it before they want to.
Exactly, because that's what Jay Daniels had so much time to get to his spot and then get enough of a crow hop to get the ball down there. And by that time, everybody had turned around and was ready for the ball.
Well, you see it with Aaron Rodgers. You go way one way, and then everyone chases back. You. Yeah, you come all the way back, and take 1-2. Launch, and then everyone's sitting there waiting for it.
Yep. And then just it's
the lock.
It's just at that point you just hope somebody comes down with that's on your team.
Yeah.
So that was a really wild game. Obviously the hype around that was, the first pick and the second pick in the draft, and Caleb Williams very animated on the sidelines after that game. He was pretty pissed off, which I can understand because he had the game won essentially. That was just a fluke play that ends up winning them the game. So very weird. Let's go on to Sunday Night Football, 49ers versus Cowboys. really, like, I didn't expect anything other than what actually happened in this game. Was the 49ers are just a better team than the Cowboys right now. Even though the 49ers also don't look great, they are dealing with a lot of injuries. Deebo Samuel had to leave this game early for like the 30th time this season. And, obviously, Brandon Ayuk tears his ACL and MCL last week, so he's out for the season. Jawan Jennings was not playing in this game because of a hip injury.
Yeah.
So their weapons are depleted. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey was not playing in this. He hadn't played all season. Jordan Mason started the game, had to leave the game. It's been crazy for the 49ers weapons-wise, but they throw Isaac Guerrero in there, and he runs really well against the Cowboys because they can't stop the run. They can't run the ball. Zeke looked terrible, even though he had a score in this game. If you had in fantasy, I guess you're okay with that, but he hasn't been consistent all season long. Just the 49ers still don't look great. Cowboys are a complete disaster so far.
The Cowboys are confusing because, like, Jerry Jones, I understand trying to, like, back your team, but he basically is like, I don't want any changes. And you're like, your team's getting smacked week in and week out. How are you going to sit there and be like, I like our team on the field?
Yeah,
like,
And then he's been making, like, the comments about how he likes the team that he's put on the field, but now he's complaining about, like, play design and play calling. Yeah. And, like, last year it was fine. Like, the play calling and, like, everything was, like, flowers and candy last year because they were 12-5 and they went to the playoffs with some momentum and everybody thought like, oh, this is our year again. And it's the exact same play caller, same play designs because all the same people are back. But the only thing that's different is the lack of talent. Yeah. And so it's like, Jerry, I don't think you're looking at this correctly. So just really just, I don't know. Jerry Jones is not a good general manager at this point. Like if you're older than Joe Biden, like, you shouldn't be running anything. Yeah, is that a shot at Joe Biden? Maybe.
You can own the team, but be like, all right, hire someone that really knows what they're doing.
You have 8 kids that can like do the job, and like maybe you don't trust them to do it, and hire somebody. I don't know, like you're Jerry Jones. You can do whatever you want.
Go on LinkedIn, like football analyst. Like,
well, like a lot of people like the guy that's in house right now, Will McClay. He's apparently the guy that's like mostly in charge of like their draft picks and like picking players that come in. Like maybe he's got a little bit more opinion on some things, and maybe you need to reach out to him and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Maybe he already does, and like that whole thing is like more collaborative than we think. But like from our perspective right now, Jerry Jones is running the show, and it's just his way or the highway, and it's kind of a disaster. So that's on them. It's not going to change until he either steps down or passes away. Like it sounds morbid, but like it just kind of is like I feel like that's the way he's going to run it. It's just into the ground.
I'm here
until he's in the ground.
I'm here till I'm dead.
It's just crazy.
I want to. Granted, the Lions beat the brakes out of the Titans, but the Lions look so good. Their offense is putting like 50 pieces. Like
they're just trying things at this point. They're like trying their trick plays so they can have them perfected for like the playoffs. Like they're ready to go.
Well, and it's like to a point where like they will score in any different way. It's like if they want to go air raid for a game, they can. They want to go whatever flash and knuckles. They can. They want their O lineman catching passes.
David Montgomery threw a touchdown pass in this game. Like
if you looked at their stat sheet, like their unnatural stat sheet, like Goff has caught one. People like the O linemen have caught one. Like the running backs have thrown one. I'm like, it's crazy. Like that is just not that it's early anymore, but they're the most crisp team, and it's not even close.
They're the most well-oiled machine. The operation is as smooth as you'll see offensively in the league. My only hesitation for the Detroit Lions at this point is their defense. Obviously, it's like continued impact of Aiden Hutchinson being injured for their whole season, and their DBs are a little bit like grabby. And like in close games, that's going to hurt you eventually. So like we'll see how that goes, and actually is something I'm going to allude to a little bit later on. But let's hop into the Colts benching Anthony Richardson. Do you have any initial thoughts on that?
Well, like I watched the play when he subbed himself out, and I can almost understand. Like he shrugged off a sack. Like obviously he was exhausted, but either take a 5-yard delay of game or call a timeout. And then if you really can't,
or just don't admit it.
And if you really can't play, don't go on live television and be like, I got tired.
Like, at least say something like, I felt something weird in my throwing shoulder.
Or like my leg tweaked.
Yeah.
And like you
just make something up.
You can't say that's your job.
Yeah, you put too much public pressure on yourself by just like not like telling a white lie.
I don't even know if they wanted Joe Flacco to play, but at that point you can't keep him in there. You got to be just looks wise, you can't leave him in the game and be like, this is our guy. I know he quit, but he can't do that.
Yeah, they're definitely rolling this out as like we just got to move forward with Joe Flacco to just save the season more or less. And it's like, a lot of people are like, well, like the whole point of playing Anthony Richardson is like to continue to develop him because he just lacks experience. Like he really has. Like he's younger than Jaden Daniels. He's younger than Caleb Williams. He's younger than all these other players in the league that are like first-year players. They're actually playing better than him right now because he literally has not played that much football at a high level yet. And so, and the thing is, he's making the hard plays and he's messing up the easy ones. And so it's like that's really just a developmental and like reps type thing. So like it's like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place right now because you want to keep him on the field in order to keep trying and developing as a football player, but you also have to balance the fact that like you're the head coach of a football team and you're an organization that's trying to win, and you can't really afford to just like take a lost season.
No, so. they have the weapons, like they have Jonathan Taylor, Pittman, to where you're like, well, like that offense could
Josh
be
Downs
decent.
looks great.
Yeah, he does. And you can't, as a coach for the rest of your team, it's tough to put a quitter out there and be like, everyone support him. Yeah. When it's like, all right,
and it's tough to put out a guy that like clearly whenever the backup comes in, the offense operates better.
Yeah,
it's hard to like justify playing the other guy just for the fact of like we need him for the future.
Yeah.
Like there's a balance that you got to have there.
Yeah, because you again, like you said, you want him to play, but you can't be like, well, they run the routes better when Joe Flacco's in the game. It's like, no, he just makes better reads, throws better passes.
Yeah.
Like you can only hide it for so long.
Correct. Yeah, for sure. He just misses the layups and he hits like the big time threes. Yeah. Like it's crazy. Like I don't know. It's a weird situation. I still think I believe in Anthony Richardson long term. I think he's got all the talent in the world. Obviously, the running ability, the ridiculous rocket launcher of an arm. Like I think it all can come together, just like the same way that Josh Allen did, where he was just as sporadic, spraying the football around. He wasn't as inaccurate as Anthony Richardson has been, but he had a lot more reps than Anthony Richardson did as well. So,
but I think this is helpful for him as a young QB because he'll get not some hate, but like some pushback of like, whoa. And then I feel like he's a competitor. I think he'll want to work harder to be like, all right, I don't want this to happen again.
And he seems like a good kid. Yeah. I think like the whole I was tired thing, I think that was just like a stupid blunder, really, more or less, or anything. Because I feel like in every interview and anything I've ever heard him speak about certain things, I think he's a good dude. So I think he will, like you said, he'll want to turn this around and just get the story back on track.
And like I was tired, like it's easy to be like, oh man, like what a baby. But like when you shrug off a 300-pound guy, you get tackled and you're like you want to.
You can't even speak.
Yeah, you want to be like, just someone come in, and then of course it's easy to be like, well, I was kind of tired, and then everyone's like, kind of tired, like that's why you want to. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah, that.
Interesting stuff in Indianapolis.
For sure. All right, let's go on to the Thursday Night Football preview. This week's Thursday Night Football game is going to be the Jets versus the Texans. Right now, the line is at 1.5 in favor of the Texans. I was talking to you before we started recording here about how iffy I am on this game in general. I will not be putting real money on this. There's no way I'm putting money on the Jets, but I'm going to go, if I had to, I'm going to put my name on the Jets Jets minus 1.5 versus the Texans. They're favored in this one, and I just the Texans. They're without Nico Collins. Obviously, they're without Stephon Diggs, who we just learned toward his ACL, so he's out for the season. Nico Collins should be coming back in the next couple of weeks or so. But the Texans right now offensively are a little bit out of sorts. They almost lost this game to the Colts this past week. They do not look great right now. And the Jets, really, this is just kind of more of a gut feeling thing. I think like they just can't continue to lose. Like I think at some point something is going to start to click and work a little bit here. Not saying the Jets are going to like make their way into the playoffs by any stretch, but at some point they're going to like break this losing streak. And I think it could be Thursday night.
Immovable object.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, because the Jets, they have the offensive power too.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know how good Aaron Rodgers is, and it's easy to judge like, oh well, he was so good. Yeah. Same with Devontae Adams, but like Garrett Wilson's good, Breece Hall's good. Like their line is solid. They just got Hassan Reddick back.
Yeah.
Like it's there. They just keep losing.
Yeah, they're losing it in historic fashion, actually. Yeah. Supposedly, like with the, I don't know all the statistics on the top of my head, but like essentially from what I was hearing was like what they held New England to in that game, as well as like what they did with like zero turnovers themselves and all that stuff. Like the last time that happened, or like it's been like 756-0.
Yeah,
has been the record of like all the statistics compiled from that exact game plan or like that game script against the Patriots. Yeah, everybody won except for them. Like basically, it was almost impossible statistically what they did on Sunday.
They jetsed it. They
like literally at this point, you can't do anything but say the Jets are cursed. Like they just are. They're like the most cursed franchise in all of like professional sports. Yeah. So crazy stuff there. But yeah, Thursday Night Football. Not a great matchup, not like a whole lot of juice in this one because like they're not like division rivals. They're in the AFC together, but
it's kind of unfortunate because if you take, I mean, the Jets aren't that banged up, but if you take a fully like charged Texans team, like that's a legit like playoff team.
Oh, for sure.
Now they don't have two of their best receivers.
Yeah,
and then I'm kind of curious about how when Collins comes back, like him and Stroud were on a heater, but without Diggs, you can give a lot more attention to Stroud. And I don't know. I mean,
they were effective last year with him and just Tank Dell.
I don't know if Schultz will step up or if Dell will step up.
Schultz needs to step up, and he hasn't been super effective all season long. Obviously, maybe you incorporate Joe Mixon in the passing game a little bit more. He's already more or less been carrying the team on offense, which is just crazy because like nobody expected that to happen coming into the season. So very interesting situation there in Houston as well, and just a wild one in New York with the Jets. Let's move on to my favorite matchup against the spread this week. This one is a shocker, and I'm going to put it out there already. I think the Packers have a chance to beat the Lions this week. Maybe that's not as like bold as like a lot of people think it is, but the Packers are not favored in this by 3.5. But I think the Packers can win this game straight up.
That's one of the craziest things I've ever heard.
Okay, well there you go. Maybe it was as bold as I thought it was.
Have you watched the Lions play?
I have, and that's why I mentioned what I did about their defense. That's the only thing that worries me is like Jordan Love is not afraid to throw the ball downfield, and like that's the one thing that like those DBs are not great at is being sticky in coverage without being grabby. And so I think there can be a lot of like those like PIs that are going to flip the field position completely. And then you get the Packers in the low red zone, and you got Josh Jacobs just finishing off runs and finishing off drives. And I think the Packers can potentially outscore the Lions in this game.
Outscore them?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
I guess that makes sense if like they win the game.
Yeah. So. I mean. Yeah, that's one of the worst. That's just so incorrect.
I'm going to look dumb. I'm going to look really dumb if the Lions just absolutely like boat race them. But like, I just don't see that happening.
I mean, you could be right, but I mean, the Lions look the Packers have the talent and like it's there, but I would almost bet money that Jair Alexander gets thrown out. I have a feeling because he's jolly in general, but if they're getting their just tail handed to him, he'll swing.
I can see that being a thing for sure. Yeah, if that's something you could bet on DraftKings, the odds are actually probably not that great.
Ejection,
But I don't know, man. I have this weird feeling the Packers are going to win this game, and I don't really have any statistics to back this up. It's just more of a gut feeling. Also, like based on what they put on tape last week against the Jags, who just like kind of stink.
Yeah,
like they barely beat the Jags. Now Jordan Love is sort of injured, so like obviously this whole bet, this whole thing is completely off if Jordan Love is not playing in this game. Yeah. He does have like a groin, so we'll see if that like actually like limits him. But if he's healthy and he's playing, like I like the Packers. Now, if it's Malik Willis, I'm out.
Yeah,
even though Malik Willis is 3-0 in the season or whatever, like he finished this game for Jordan Love and got the job done. But
I just think Goofball has so many ways to own a game. Like he can take it, like he can win it, not himself, but he can go out and win it, and he can also just be running counter draw. Like he can manage it well. Yeah. But I do think the Lions are a team where, like, I don't know if they can afford a Chase Young or someone, but I do think to win a Super Bowl, a pass rush will be important.
Well, so some reporter asked Dan Campbell earlier on this past week if, like, he's heard some rumblings from Brad Holmes, their GM, about like a potential trade. And he like literally physically started jumping up and down and saying like, maybe. Clearly something's kind of in the pipeline for them, and I would assume it is defensive end help because obviously
what else do they need?
They don't really need anything else. You're right. I mean, obviously because of Aiden Hutchinson being gone for the season, they need some DN help, and there's plenty of people out there that can help their situation because they just obviously the backup they're playing now is just not going to be as good for sure.
Well, and it's like their cornerbacks aren't great, but they also don't suck. But in order to like improve, they would need like a Jair Alexander, a Trent McDuffie, and like you can't afford those.
Nobody's giving those guys up.
No,
corners are so much harder to come by right
Lattimore.
now.
If you have a good one, they stay.
Yeah, for sure. They're paid and they're paid very well.
Yeah,
and so
as they should.
And they did pay Carlton Davis, the Detroit Lions, this past offseason in free agency, and like I really thought he was going to help that defense or that secondary in general a whole lot, and like he's definitely made it better.
Yeah.
But like I said, that one kryptonite is just the grabbiness of him and Terrion Arnold on the other side, the rookie from Alabama. I like them both as players because I think they're physical and I think they got good ball skills and stuff of that nature. But their one kryptonite, like I said, is just the grabbiness. The PI potential is like high, and that can really screw you in big spots.
Well, and they're in such a good spot because like when they had Hutchinson and who's on the other side?
Geez. Nobody of real note. So that's the thing is like he was their like premier DN.
Yeah,
I don't even know who's on the other side.
Like their pass rush would get there.
Aleem McNeil up the middle. He's really good. DJ Reader, obviously, like I said, he got traded from, or not traded, but he got signed free agency from the Bengals. So both their D line is solid when Hutchinson's there, but then otherwise it's just
But like the D-line, a good D-line makes your cornerbacks look so good because they have to defend a receiver for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Versus like if you're getting no pressure, you're running around with this guy for like 5.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how they'll like the offense. Their offense just looks like a Madden on rookie mode.
Yeah.
Like
and that's the thing. Their offense is so good. The thing they also like haven't played like fantastic competition the last few weeks when they've been blowing all these people out. Obviously, you got the Cowboys who have been a disaster all season.
And then you look
Titans
at the Vikings, you're like, how good are they? Like,
exactly.
Now there's a question about that.
Correct. So, like, a lot of their competition has just been okay. And so we'll see, like, a team that obviously, like, last year, when even the Lions were hot last year as well, the Packers on Thanksgiving came in and, like, murdered them.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's a team that kind of has their number. Matt LaFleur might have, like, a little bit of a beat on what they're doing defensively there. It could be a good game. Obviously, NFC North rivalry is always fun to have every Sunday. So, that pretty much wraps up. Do you have any other final thoughts you want to get off?
Shout out to the tight ends on National Tight End Day.
Oh, they went crazy.
Cool.
I think it was like 17 touchdowns on Sunday.
Did you see the parlays?
People, somebody did all
like
tight end
15 of them, and they hit all of them.
Dude, it was
like
crazy.
Kelsey got his, Pitts, like all of like Florida. Like,
and Brock Bowers, the one guy that's been like the mainstay of like, oh wow, this is the one guy that's been like very consistent all season. He didn't even get a touchdown, but he still had a decent game. But it was crazy. Yeah, everybody went off.
Well, because I saw it was National Tight End Day, and then I was like, oh,
that's made up.
Yeah, I was like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Yeah. And then Kelsey had 30 in fantasy. I was like, nice.
Like, okay, so the National Tight End Day should be every Sunday.
So it's like that's like a reoccurring thing.
Like when is National like wide receiver day? Like when is that coming?
Yeah, how about National Just Traded Receiver Day?
Exactly. That guy goes crazy.
Yeah,
that's hilarious. But
that's all.
All right, sounds good. Well, appreciate you coming on once again. This is Hodge Burkhart. I'm Logan Hill, and please follow us on all the socials: Twitter, TikTok, and follow on YouTube.
MVP prediction. Who's going to win it?
MVP. Oh, jeez. You do this to me every week, and now Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
Yeah, Josh Allen.
I
think that's it. Yeah, that seems pretty safe right now. Like if they win the AFC East, if they like have one of the higher seeds, and he's kind of dragging this team. Yeah, I think he can win it.
I'm sticking with Jameis Winston.
Your prediction have been trash.
No, I can almost see Derrick Henry winning it if they start using him.
Honestly,
he needs more than 11 touches
for sure. And that's the thing. Like honestly, like if anybody a non QB is going to win MVP, it's got to be a guy that just has a crazy statistical season. And like Derrick Henry's on the way right now, so it's very possible. But yeah, all right, sounds good. Well. Appreciate everybody watching, and we will talk to you next week.
See ya.